Next to compromising your user accounts inside WordPress, another popular vector for accessing your site for malicious purposes is to gain direct server access to your file server, where WordPress itself and all the associated files sits. To make the server access itself more secure, here are a couple of best practices specifically about how you gain access to your own files. Most WordPress users will want to gain access to their files using straight-up FTP. But while this works, FTP itself is a very old technology and also quite insecure. So to make accessing your file server more secure, here is a hierarchical tree of options that you should follow. First, check whether or not your host is currently providing access through Git or other version control. Of course, this means that you need to know Git or other version control systems, but these are far more secure than FTP or pretty much anything else, and in reality, they're also way more simpler to use because you can make changes to your file on your computer and simply push them to the server. Git and version control as a publishing tool is relatively new in the hosting world, but it's becoming more and more common, especially for hosts that specialize in WordPress. So if you have a host that specializes in WordPress and you know Git or other version control systems, go check out if they support Git as a publishing method, because this will be the most secure method. Next, if you want to use a traditional FTP application, you should check whether or not your host supports SFTP. So SFTP is an encrypted version of FTP that encrypts the actual connection between the two computers so that your username and password are not sent in clean text format. That means if someone somehow manages to intercept the traffic between your computer and the network and the host, they won't be able to snoop on the username and password as that traffic is happening. Most hosts provide SFTP as an option, but you often have to ask them specifically if this is an option to get access to it. If you choose to use straight-up FTP, it's very important that you only use it on a trusted network. That means don't use FTP at the airport or a hotel or your favorite coffee shop or the library or anywhere else where there's a public network. Like I said, FTP is old technology and intrinsically insecure. So when you log in using FTP, someone could snoop on your connection and actually pick out your username and password and thereby gain access to your server. This will only happen on an insecure public network though, so you're perfectly safe doing this at your office or in your own home. You just shouldn't do it on a public network. But like I said, follow this list from the top. Start with Git or version control, then see if you can use SFTP, and only use FTP if you absolutely have to. And then only use it on a secure network that you trust. Finally, no matter what solution you use, I have one more tip for you. When you set up your hosting, you can always set up multiple different access accounts, be that for version control or SFTP or FTP. And you can direct those accounts specifically to exactly the folders they should have access to. That means you should set up custom accounts for each of the projects on your site. Or if you know that you're only going to be publishing files to maybe the WP content folder because you're only working on themes and plugins, then you should create an account that only targets that folder. That way, if for some reason that account is compromised, the person who compromised the account won't be able to gain access to the rest of the server and all the other files. They'll only be able to tamper with the files they have access to. So having multiple different accounts that point at different places within your project will automatically make your site more secure if you actually use the accounts the way you set them up, that is.